Hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode of 2025. My name is Yana Harris, I'm a principal front-end engineer, and today I would like to talk to you about React state libraries. If you made a New Year's resolution to build more React projects in 2025, the state management is surely one of those topics where you can spend hours drilling down into all the options available and still having a hard time deciding which option is the best for you. Over the years, state management in React ecosystem had evolved significantly. Now we have a set of built-in React state management utilities that are available to you without any third-party dependencies. At the same time, I'm sure a lot of you who had worked on large-scale applications probably have dipped their toes into various third-party libraries, and Redux, I'm sure, is one of them. Back in 2015, 2016, a lot of us been playing around with Redux versus MobX. Today, you have a large array and variety of tools to choose from, like ZooStand, Jotai, Recoil, and each of those solves slightly different problems. Since React primarily is a front-end library, state management in your React application means keeping track of your current application state on the front end, with some exceptions. The data in your state determines how your app looks and behaves at any given time. So in general terms, there are 4 different types of state that you can have in your React application. One is local state, and right now I actually refer more narrowly to the local state of the specific component. To track local state of your component, you usually would use a React hook like useState. Then you have global state. This is the state that has to be shared across multiple components within your application, such as user authentication. Then we have a service state. This is the data that gets fetched from your API that needs to be synchronized with your UI. We can also keep track of your state within your URL parameters. Parameters within your root can dictate how your app behaves, looks, and what it presents to the user. And just a quick note on why choosing the right tools to manage your state is important. As your application grows, the relationship between components and part of your application become more complex, and you want to make sure that the way you track state doesn't cause significant additional re-rendering of your front end, and in essence doesn't cause performance issues and doesn't dampen your user experience. So as I mentioned before, React does have some built-in state management utilities. In a modern React application, those utilities are represented by the 3 following hooks. Number 1 is useState. useState is a very simple, useful utility for managing local state within your component. useReducer is another hook that you can use within the component boundary, but it is more powerful for managing complex state. For example, if you track state within a complex object. Now, if you were just to rely on useState and useReducer within your application and to pass state from a parent component to a nested child component, you might end up with something that is called prop drilling, having to pass the same prop through multiple layers of components. In order to avoid prop drilling, you can utilize React useContext hook. With the help of context, you can create a set of variables that now become available at any level of the nested components within the context boundary. If you're experimenting or building an extremely lightweight front-end application, these tools might be enough for you. But as your application grows and becomes more complex, this is where you have to rely on some third-party tool. Let's take a look at some third-party state management libraries. So of course we have to talk about Redux. Redux was originally released in 2015 and quickly became a staple for state management in complex enterprise React applications. Then in 2019, Redux team had released something that they call Redux Toolkit that was aiming to resolve one of the most significant challenges with using Redux in the first place, eliminating the need for a complex boilerplate. The best use case for using Redux is when you have a complex enterprise-level application. It is extremely predictable, it has a huge ecosystem of tools available to support Redux. There's also a very large community behind Redux, which makes it easier to find answers to your questions online straight away. However, Redux might prove to be a little bit steeper of a learning curve to get started for those that have no experience with it, as well as, in my opinion, it does still require a considerable boilerplate to get started. So actually, in my experience, I have been avoiding using Redux whenever I can. Back in 2016, 2017, I was knees deep in using a Redux alternative, which is called MobX. MobX is implemented using a singleton pattern. It requires minimal setup, and it is perfect for highly interactive UI with minimal boilerplate. 2 of the main concerns of using MobX these days is it is not unidirectional data flow, which is a big concern. And the second thing is it's relying on the mutable state. And these days, we know that mutating data can lead to unpredictable results. Something that I've been using a lot lately in my professional projects is Recoil. Recoil is a state management library that has been announced by Meta in 2020. It is built by Meta, and it allows for more granular control of your state with atoms. Once again, it requires minimal boilerplate, allows for extremely granular updates. However, it has significantly smaller ecosystem and user base compared to Redux. A rising star in 2025 for state management is ZooStand. ZooStand has been loved for its simplicity. It does not require any boilerplate for the setup and makes it perfect for small applications. It is lightweight, has a simple API. However, it is a little bit less structured if you try to use it for large-scale applications. I do want to mention that when it comes to NPM downloads, ZooStand is only second to Redux as of end of 2024 and is sharply on the rise. Then we have Jotai. Jotai is another atom-based state management library. It is minimalistic and works great with React Suspense. If you're looking for a deeper comparison between these libraries, I would put Jotai next to Recoil and look for differences there. And similarly to Recoil and ZooStand, Jotai has some limited features for complex enterprise-level applications. If you're choosing to track your state on the server side, React Query is unbeatable. It handles fetching, caching, and syncing data effortlessly. It is great for API-heavy apps, but naturally, it is not suitable for managing your state client-side in your browser. So how do you choose the right tool? Well, here's a little decision tree for you. If your application is extremely lightweight and minimalistic, you might be able to get away with built-in React utilities like useState, useReducer, and useContext. If you're looking for fine-grained control over your state, as well as modern React integration, both Recoil and Jotai will be excellent choices. If you're looking for something lightweight and flexible with a lightning speed setup, choose ZooStand. If you're working on a complex application with a lot of global state, you probably would want to go with the Redux toolkit. And finally, if you have an API-heavy app or chose server-side rendering, React Query will be perfect choice for you. And just a few final notes. First and foremost, avoid over-engineering and trying to plan too far ahead. Don't assume that your application will become overly complex in the future. Choose state management system that works great for you right now, plus about 6 months. And don't upgrade to more complex tools until you actually need them. Number 2 is do your best to optimize for performance. Use memoization, batch your state updates, and utilize React DevTools to debug and avoid unnecessary re-renders. And 3, stay consistent. Don't mix and match multiple libraries to manage your state. An exception, of course, is using a single third-party library and still relying on built-in React features like useState and useReducer. Now, what has been your favorite state management library? And which one are you excited to try in 2025? Let me know in the comments. That's all for today. Thank you, and until the next time.